Yo, what's going on, man? Top of the morning to the gambling gang as always, man. It's another episode of Cashed It with Chris, the NBA betting show slash podcast. If you guys could, as you come in, and I see we got a lot of people here already, man, for a nice little 3 game slate on a Thursday. On a Thursday. I think I put winning Wednesdays on the thing. I definitely meant Thursdays when I tweeted that out. Oh, but it's all good, man. It's all good. As always, these podcasts are brought to you guys by the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. Be sure to give them a follow on their social media platforms and check out all the podcasts that they have going on over there. Like I said, it's always a bunch of different, basketball conversations. Everything is basketball related. If you guys follow Basketball Forever, you know how big of a platform and brand name that is over there. So check those guys out over there. A lot of different shows going on over there. As always, we start off with a recap. We saw a lot of things going on in the NBA yesterday. And hit the like button for me if you guys can as well. I see a lot of people here already. JR Sports, my guy KC is in the building. What's up, KC? Bitsy here. What up, Anthony? Appreciate you being here as always. Yeah, we got some things right yesterday. So quick recap, man. I had a lot of things I was looking at yesterday, kind of just wanting to share more looks because with such a big slate, I feel like I'll give you guys like 3 or 4 plays, even if we have like 13 or 14 games, sometimes 12, 13 games. So official plays for me, we did end up going, what was it, 3-1, I want to say. So on the show yesterday, I gave out the Boston Celtics as my favorite look of the day yesterday, and that cashed pretty easy last night. They took care of the Phoenix Suns. Really was never a game. Jumped out on them early. It was over with pretty much in the first quarter. Dominated them at halftime as well. 2-1. So I gave out that on the Crispy Cap and NBA show. I gave out the Knicks first half minus the 0.5. That was also a cash. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies first quarter was the Bet US video yesterday. Over 58.5 in the first quarter. And that one was over with pretty quickly. Oklahoma City could not score at all. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander went on this point prop. I think they started the game like 3 for 15 from the field. So not what I was expecting at all. That we also got the positive closing line value because that total went all the way up to I think 60.5 in the first quarter. So it was expected to be a highly scoring game, and you just didn't see points in that one. Really, really frustrating loss there. I really, really loved that spot. Really, really frustrating because could have been 3-1. Also, real quick, other plays that I talked about yesterday. I talked about the Magic plus the 7. They cashed, ended up going to overtime. They cashed that game outright. I talked about the Knicks first half, talked about that one. The Timberwolves first half team total over 60.5. Cash. So the spreads look good, pretty good yesterday. The only one that I gave out was the Celtics minus the 1.5 and the Memphis and Oklahoma City Thunder first quarter over 58.5. So if you took the other ones, you definitely cash. As far as props, I talked about Paolo Banchero going over the 26.5 points plus rebounds. It took the overtime, but he did clear that line. Anthony Edwards over 26.5 points, finished at 26. Giannis over 42.5 points plus rebounds. He finished at 41. Triple J last night, not needed. Not when you have such a big game from Dylan Brooks. CJ McCollum had 3 assists in the first quarter, finished with 4 assists, and shot the ball terribly yesterday. I talked about his assist prop at 5.5. DeMar DeRozan did clear the 26.5 points, and Tatum actually started at the small forward position with Grant Williams and Blake Griffin both starting in that game. So he didn't clear the 8.5 rebounds. So just a couple of looks. I didn't play those officially, but a couple of looks I was looking at as well. But yeah, we did pretty good last night, man. We did pretty good. If you guys are here, like I said, hit the like button for me. We're going to go ahead and get into the 3-game slate today. I handicapped 2 of these games in extreme detail. And I'll probably wait, and I like to keep something for the evening show. So I won't touch too much on the Nuggets and the Blazers game. The Nuggets open as 1-point favorites in that game, and total at 226. So we'll talk about that game a little bit more tonight. Denver in desperate need of a win after a couple straight losses, but they'll be shorthanded without Michael Porter Jr. in that one. So let's get into the 2 games that I do want to talk about today, the earlier games. So we have the Los Angeles Clippers yet again against the Miami Heat. Heat coming to this one laying 4.5. I see it moving in the opposite direction. It's up to I'm seeing it moving in the direction of the Miami Heat. The spread is now at 5. I see on DraftKings. Bet online is a 5 and WinBet is a 5 as well. So money's coming in on Miami, and I think for pretty good reason. So let me tell you guys what I got on this one. So it's a lot of moving parts in this one, man. A lot of things a lot of different ways to look at this game. So starting with the injuries is always first and foremost. Marcus Morris, John Wall, and Luke Kennard did not play in that game against Orlando last night. This is the second game of a back-to-back, of course, with the Los Angeles Clippers losing last night in Orlando, and it's the third game in 4 nights for them as well because they did play Charlotte on Monday as well. Also, so Marcus Morris, John Wall, and Luke Kennard are expected to play. PG said that he's going to play, even though it's the second night of a back-to-back. Kawhi hasn't been playing on back-to-backs. No official news. I watched the post-game interview with Coach Ty Lue. He didn't mention Kawhi at all, so we don't have any news on Kawhi. He did play 30 minutes last night, and if I had to go out on a limb, I would say that he probably doesn't play. Also, they both reported last night, both PG and Kawhi, that they do want to play more minutes. They understand that the organization is trying to protect them, but they do want to get out there and play. So take that for what it is. I don't know if they want to play or not. On the opposite side, a lot of injuries going on with the Miami Heat as well. The biggest one, of course, is Jimmy Butler being listed as questionable. All the other guys are listed as probable in this one. That's Highsmith, that's Duncan Robinson, that's Max Strus, that's Victor Oladipo, and that's Tyler Hero. So those guys look like they're going to be in. I think that's why we see the point spread kind of move to 5.5. So Clippers, I talked about it. Third game in 4 nights. They beat Charlotte by 2 on Monday. They lost in overtime last night. Quick turnaround tonight. Not a lot of travel, but that game did go to overtime. They failed to cover their last 4 games in a row, dating all the way back to when they were, at home. For Miami, this is also a third game in 4 nights, but they did have yesterday off. They're coming off 2 outright losses and non-covers against the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis, and then they came home and lost by 20 against a shorthanded Detroit Pistons team as well. They were laying 7.5 points in that game. So to me, this feels like 2 teams that you really can't trust. Both of these teams haven't covered a spread. One of them going to cover tonight, but both of these teams haven't covered a spread. In their recent games, both teams coming off losses. Both teams coming off double. Not double losses because Memphis did win. I'm sorry, because the Clippers did win the other day, but both of these teams kind of going on a downward spiral. So one of the things I looked at, and I think this is important and is probably impacting the spread, was when you're looking at a side in this one, excuse me, this season, when teams are on their third game in 4 nights and their previous game went to overtime, those teams are 0-3-1 against the spread in their following game, dating back to last season. I'm sorry, no, that's this season. So 0-3-1 against the spread this season so far when teams were playing on their third game in 4 nights and their previous game went to overtime. Dating back to last season, those teams are 5-18-1 against the spread, and only 8-16 straight up. This trend backs the Heat at a 79% cover rate if you get on the 4.5 or the 5 right now. So I'm not telling you guys to play that, but I would only be able to look towards the Heat in this one. I don't trust the Clippers on the road. I don't think that Kawhi is going to play in this game. He impacts the game significantly, especially on the defensive end, of course. The Clippers probably feel like they got a bad taste in their mouth after, pretty much dominating that game. They jumped out on Orlando Magic early in that game yesterday, didn't have a lot of offense in the second half. And allowed them to come back, tie the game. They go to overtime and they lose the game. So I feel like it's a Miami Heat spot. I don't want to back the Miami Heat though, but that's the only way I would look if I'm actually playing a side at all. As far as the total in this one goes, this is pretty interesting. So these are 2 teams that, primarily they struggle to score. Especially the Clippers. They don't have a lot of offense. They typically win with their defense. The total being at 215.5 is a little interesting. I haven't placed anything yet, and I see it down to 213.5 on BetUS, but it's 215s everywhere else. Interesting note in this one. So the Heat are 6-4-1 to the over. this season with an average of about 219 points after a previous loss when Jimmy Butler plays in the next game. They're also the Heat 9-5-1 to the over in all their games where he's played, and 6-3 to the over in his home games, including 4 straight overs. I'm talking about Jimmy Butler specifically. Their defense has taken a step back this season. They're ranked only 22nd defensively, and the Clippers, they're 3-1 to the over this season as away dogs. And getting some of those guys back. I talked about Luke Kennard and John Wall and Marcus Morris coming back, to have fresh legs in this spot, probably leads to more points. I know it's probably a contrarian play, because you get two of the slower paced teams, two of the teams that supposedly play, pretty good defense. But the Miami Heat haven't been playing good defense. Like I mentioned, 22nd defensively. The Clippers on the third game of 4 nights. I think that they should be able to, score a few points. They just don't score a lot of points. Kawhi being out also influences the total. You want to take the game over with Kawhi. I'm sorry, without Kawhi. With Kawhi and PG both in, you want to take the under, because those games typically go under a lot more, at least since the start of last season when, both PG and Kawhi have played together. So I haven't played a total in this one either. I want to do a little more research, but I do think that this game could go over the 215.5. I feel like, if you really want to make a play in this one, you take the Miami Heat and you take the over. One of those should cash, right? Maybe you just take a Miami Heat team total over. I just kind of feel like they should be able to score on this Clippers team, with the Clippers coming off second night of a back-to-back. So nothing official for me in that game. But like I said, did some research on that one. Still got a little more research to go before I feel like I want to make an official play, man. Not trying to give out losers, not trying to take losers either. Let me see what y'all say in the chat before I move on to the next game. It's going to be a quicker show today with only 3 games. And like I said, I'm only going to handicap 2 of them right now. I'll say the last one for the next show. Let's see what y'all said last night. What y'all got? Yeah, Celtics. Yeah, they cashed us out yesterday again, man. Celtics I don't know what it is. They just can't lose. What's up, Courtney? I got Courtney in the building. What up, Court? Let's see. Trae Young props messed up a parlay yesterday. Chris, don't fade Boston again. Yeah, I'm not fading Boston. I talked about staying off Trae Young too. I knew everybody and their mom was gonna be on Trae last night. Stayed away from Trae. What up to my boy Sai in the chat? DJ, what's going on? Good morning to you, my brother. Miami got dog walk by the Pistons Tuesday. They did. They absolutely did. Team total over for the Spurs has been cashing. I'm sitting at 118 right now, juice to the under. We'll water it down and parlay it with a player prop. I can see that, Missy. Okay. I like how they're both coming off a loss. Bottom tier team. Y'all going crazy in the chat. I can't keep up, man. Got back on track yesterday, 5-0 on props. Love to see it, LJ. Love to see it, my brother. But let's keep going. Let's get to this next one. PG made it known he's playing tonight. Yeah, I mentioned that as well, Justin. He did say that he would play. Sometimes though, I like not to go against anything that's being said in the chat, and I think that PG probably will play, but I think it is important that sometimes these players don't necessarily get to decide whether they're going to play or not. Sometimes it's totally left up to the medical staff, right? It's left up to the trainers. So if they say that, you got to sit, then you got to sit. I don't think that, Steph Curry and, any of those guys wants to sit on those back-to-backs, that they've had to sit out so far this season. That's more like a medical coaching, group decision, not necessarily with the players involved all the time. So that's what I got for you guys on that first game. Like I said, I feel like I need to do a little bit more research to confidently make a play in that game. I do think that just looking at the Miami Heat, they've been giving up a lot of 3-pointers. Bogdanovich went off the other day. Guys were hitting 3-pointers from Memphis the other day. PG is somebody that plays better without Kawhi. I think, knowing that he's the main guy helps a lot. He started the game 2 for 2 from 3 last night. That'll be something that I'll be looking at. Maybe PG threes in this one. But like I said, we still waiting on, news from Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler probably does come back and play today, but I also, he's missed so many games. I don't think that they're in a rush to, bring him back anytime soon. So that's what I got for you guys there. If you joined late, hit the like button for me. Like I said, if you're watching on Twitter, retweet the tweet. Let's keep going. So let's talk about this Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs game before we get up out of here. So Rockets and the Spurs opened at 2.5 in favor of. I'm sorry, I definitely that is not correct. I need to change that. So I actually have it listed at the Spurs being 2.5 favorites. That is not correct. It should say the Rockets. Fix that. Okay, so the Rockets are actually 2.5 point away favorites, total at 233.5 in this one. Injury wise, Josh Christopher is listed as questionable. Kevin Porter Jr. is also listed as questionable. But the bigger injuries are on the Spurs side, right? Jakob Poeltl, even with Kevin Porter Jr., I feel like he's a big part of that offense, but they have a lot of guys that can score on that team. On the Spurs side of things, Jakob Poeltl, Jeremy Socum, both remain out. Romeo Langford listed as probable. Bates Diop is out. Doug McDermott is probable. Devin Vassell is doubtful. Josh Richardson is expected to play. So for me, that this is a difficult game, man. The Rockets are not typically away favorites in any form or fashion. The San Antonio Spurs have been god awful. We cashed on the Phoenix Suns on Sunday. If you played those team total overs, first quarter, first half, they both cashed. I didn't play the full game, but that cashed as well. So what you have? So you got the Rockets coming in this game off the overtime win against the 76ers. However, they are just 3-12 straight up on the road, 7-8 against the spread on the road, but they are 6-4 ATS in their last 10. So they've been being competitive in games, even if they've been losing. San Antonio on the opposite side, they're 3-10 straight up and 5-8 against the spread at home. They are just 1-9 against the spread in their last 10. They failed to cover 9 of those spreads. So that's like out of the last 10 spreads, they've only covered one, and that was the farthest, the last one. They failed to cover 9 times in a row. So it looks kind of easy to take the Rockets, but the Rockets asking them to cover a road game as a favorite is something that we have not had to do since March 26th of last season. They did cover and win that game. It was a game against the Trailblazers. Of course, Damian Lillard wasn't in that one. Trailblazers were one of the worst teams in the league at that point in time, playing a lot of bench guys, a lot of G League guys as well. So they covered and won that game against the Trailblazers. The game before that, the exact day before that, it was one of those back-to-back situations. They actually covered and won that game against the Trailblazers as well. So they went 2-1 straight up and against the spread last season as an away favorite, but that lone loss did come against the Spurs in a game that they were 1-point favorites. They lost that game 131-106 on February the 4th. Now, of course, this San Antonio Spurs team is nothing like that San Antonio Spurs team from last year. There's no DeJounte Murray, which is probably the biggest thing. Of course, they're not, tanking for Victor Wembanyama last year. You look at this Spurs team, one of the biggest things for me, not trying to fall into a trap, right? You don't just want to hop on the Houston Rockets. I talked about this on Sunday, on the Sunday show, but you look at the Spurs team now, they're 0-3 straight up and against the spread in games this season without Jakob Poeltl and Jeremy Socum together, right? All three of those games have also gone towards the under. They average in just 101 points in those 3 games so far this season. I think that when you take away, I don't know how much you guys have actually been watching the San Antonio Spurs. I watch them play. Without Jeremy Socum, I mentioned his name, and one of the reasons why I'm running the queries with him is because he's their best defender. Jakob Poeltl is their best interior defender, and he's their best, big man as far as being able to score the ball. So when you take away both of those things, you see a Spurs team that struggles to score the ball. Like I said, only averaging about 101 points per game in those 3 games this season, and they're absolutely getting obliterated on the rebounds. The Houston Rockets are one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the league. So I do think that if you don't want to play the Rockets and you're scared of them as a favorite, and we don't have team totals out yet, but I do think you could pivot towards the team total. I think that, even with, the Kevin Porter Jr. being listed as probable in this one, I do kind of feel like, they should be able to score the ball. San Antonio has the worst offensive rating at home this season at only 105.6. And if I'm looking at, a specific player, I think a guy like Sengun, he should absolutely dominate the paint tonight, get whatever it is that he wants. I like him even more if Kevin Porter Jr. doesn't play. Because you take away Jakob Poeltl, right? So I don't know, man. I think, a lot of player props on the Houston Rockets side could hit in this one, especially if Kevin Porter Jr. doesn't play. That opens up a lot of opportunity for some of these other Houston Rockets to be able to score. So that's my kind of plays on that game. I haven't played a player prop yet. I do like Sengun, like I said. They just the San Antonio Spurs team is going to be a doormat for a lot of teams this season. At least that's the way I see it. That's the way it's kind of played out over the last 9-10 games. So that's what I'm looking at, man. Let's see what y'all on in the chat before I get up out of here. Justice said I'm a Hawks fan. They on auto fade on the road, and coach and Trey Beefin stay off my Hawks till further notice. That's a fact. That is a fact. Steven said he don't like the slate tonight. DJ said Jalen Green don't like performing on the road either. Jabari and Sengun will have to carry him, in my opinion. I could see that, DJ. I could definitely see that. Steven said Rockets team total 116, Spurs team total 114. I looked at the Rockets defensive rating on the road. It's absolutely atrocious. But like I said, the San Antonio team has not been able to score when you take away Jeremy Socum and you take away Jakob Poeltl. So I do feel like the Rockets -2.5 is the right play in this one. I think if they get Kevin Porter Jr. listed in, then the spread, might move another half point, and this one probably closes closer to 3, maybe even 3.5. LJ says Spurs allow the most steals at home. Rockets second most steals on the road. Take both point guards to get 2 steals. Jabari Smith has been cashing his 3-point prop. Yeah, shout out to my guy Wham, man. Wham been running Jabari Smith Jr. Back. Jabari Smith Jr. 3-pointers back to back to back, and they've been cashing for sure. Over 2.5. It's you can get it at plus money sometimes too. Jeremy Grant over 20.5. Joker over 23.5 points coming off a BS game. I can see that. Frank. I do think that Jeremy Grant probably will end up drawing Aaron Gordon tonight. Pretty good, defender for being able to guard your 3 and your 4s. Not sure what they're gonna do with Dame and Anthony Simons tonight, though. But yeah, man, I like the looks. 22 minutes in the books just to break down 2 games, man. I appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with me early on a Thursday morning, man. Like I said, hit that like button for me if you guys can on the way out. And I do want to shout out the podcast, man. I try to make sure I mention it, but the podcast, I do these shows on YouTube now specifically, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can find the podcast. If people are joining late, they don't want to necessarily watch on YouTube, download the podcast and leave me a review on there as well, man. I think I'm going to do a giveaway for people who, have left me a review. So hit that like button for me if you guys can. Check out the podcast. Go in, subscribe to the podcast, turn the notifications on so you guys know when I drop a new one. And, check out the podcast at a later time, especially if you guys are joining late and you can't be here at 7 a.m. Eastern time in the morning, man. See y'all at 5:15, like my guy KC just said in the chat, for the Crispy Cap and NBA show. I have a few props. It's a 3-game slate, so I'm not gonna force a lot of things, but I'm gonna have as many plays as I absolutely love. So best of luck to you guys as always in the show with this. None of this is financial advice or financial consultation. It's theory, it's logic, it's SDQLs, it's trends, it's eye tests. Best of luck to you guys tonight. Bet with your head and not over it, man. I'm out.